Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us tonight, where we would like to engage on the 13 reasons we have put together. I know there is way too many of them as to why Ruto must go. Well, just to set the ball rolling, it's clear for those of you who are joining us that you have interacted with evidence which indicates that the presidency, that is the duo of William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua, have lost the willful consent, public trust, favor, and legitimacy to serve for the remainder of their respective terms as president and deputy president. We've come up with a booklet that we've been sharing whenever we go out there to meet the people to get them to understand why Ruto does not need any more time. In fact, we've been beginning by telling them that when President Moi Kibaki was sworn in on the 30th of December in 2002, in January, when children reported to school, we already had free primary education, which they had promised during their campaign. So there are those 13 reasons which we have shared widely, and we would encourage you to share the circular, the poster, and there's even a charter. So, Buka, if you're ready, we will invite you so you can give us the preamble and we can get this conversation on the road. Again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. And Kasmuel, it's so gracious of you to allow us to use your platform to reach out to the people so we can continue to inject, because as consensus has it, over 81% of Kenyans do not have confidence in William Ruto and the presidency, and they insist that it's time for them to pack up and go and let Kenyans figure out how to take care of the remainder of the term. So, Buka, if you're ready, unmute your mic. Let's get going. Wanjera, we have you queued in. Yes, Buka, carry on.
Thank you, Comrade Mudiora and Kas. You have been injecting, so sisi tutaendelea kufinya tu kukusaidia, but this has been a greatest moment for our country, that we at least have a chance to demonstrate that we are true patriots, that we love our country, and we are willing at least to put our bodies in the streets, to put our everything else that we got to defend, our homeland, and also to remind the leaders that mainly made themselves to political positions through what we may call a democratic process, but in essence, mainly the billionaire class that have continued to lie to the people. So it was a time in our country to remind them that they are accountable to the people, and not just advancing their own selfish agenda. And we have had several consultations, because the question that we continue to ask is not if Ruto is going. The question that we must ask is, now we have advanced even to deepen our debate, that what will happen when Ruto goes, because it's not just a question of if now, but now we are ultimately sure that the only reason that President William Samoei Ruto and Gachagua are in power is not that they enjoy the popular support from the people, but only because they have the organized, weapons of violence against the people. This is important for us to acknowledge, that President himself and his ruling party have lost total popular support. They have lost, to contain, their lies, even though sometimes after the 25th event, we know that the probably some of us were mistaken that their arrogance have reduced, but the arrogance of the president himself and his people have even come, back in full force. And just a few reminders that the dissolution of cabinet secretary that we forced President William Samoei Ruto to do, he did it in utmost bad faith and even returned the most corrupt people in his cabinet. So, and then look at, and we pity him a lot, this the CS for Treasury, Mbadi. After he became the CS, the first thing he did was to meet the enemy of the Kenyan people, the IMF, economist, and to give loyalty to IMF and World Bank. While we have lost some of the finest, Kenyan people, we have lost some of the men and women of great of great service to this country. These fine brothers and sisters that we have lost in the streets that were murdered by President William Samoei Ruto and Gachagua, we cannot forget them. So we have the preamble that I would just want to say is that the collective that has been meeting to think through and uh, you know and to help mobilize and reconsolidate the people's camp, decided to host this Why Ruto Must Go, to remind the people of the number of people, not just the number of people that have sacrificed themselves in the street, but to remind the Kenyan people that we must not get tired, because everything else that we have gotten in the history of the Kenyan in the history in Kenya today has been a product of the struggle. So we have developed several reasons why we think President William Samoei Ruto must go now, and we are also reconsolidating because we want to also demonstrate to the majority of this country that we are up to the task of running this country, and not just a bunch of anarchists like some of the government officials want to portray us. That we will only want to go to the street to cause chaos, to cause problems to the people, but we are also saying that now we are reconsolidating the camp and we are ready to take up those positions without negotiating with them. In fact, we want to say today that President William Samoei Ruto cannot invite anyone that represents the majority of the people to actually work with him, because working with President William Samoei Ruto is to betray the Kenyan people. So even if he touts positions for the youth, he only wants to use those positions to deflate the people's anger and actually continue, with his dictatorship. So we are not going to join President William Samoei Ruto. We are actually going to form an alternative government to actually replace President William Samoei Ruto. I take back the mic to Kas. I can see you're muting.
Th- Thank you very much, Buka and Comrade Muthiora for those opening statements. Maybe just so that the people understand, so that because there's been a lot of talk of people trying to make it look as though people are disorganized, trying to make it look as though there are people who have imposed leadership on themselves. There are people who do not understand. What do you mean by this national provisional committee of the coalitions of people's assemblies? How was this thing formed? Where was it? Was it talked about? Is it a closed group of Kenyans who are just, is it a bunch of influencers? I mean, how did this coalition come about? Because remember, when we usually meet on the streets, we say organize, 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 and the response is organize to take political power. So, Comrade Buka, in maybe a minute or two, could you kindly walk us through what this is? Because when I walk out here and I say that I'm the spokesperson of the National Provisional Committee of the Coalition of People's Assemblies, and Comrade Muthiora is also in a secretariat, and Comrade Sefusani is also in a secretariat. Kenyans might be confused. So could you kindly walk us through what was this like? Was this a small boardroom decisions of people who met on the streets and thought that they need to lead Gen Zs, or what is this, Comrade Buka?
Thank you. First, it's important that the members of the coalition actually took the correct analysis that the only way the Gen Z will develop leaders are from the street and no other. So the discussions around reconsolidating the people's camp and making sure that the finest Kenyans that have come out in the streets and have shown their capability in terms of steering this great country to better heights come together. This coalition was born in the street, and it's actually a coalition that was born with the majority of the organized and unorganized forces that were actively engaged in street protest. And the reality is that when power finally falls in the street, power goes to the most organized persons. And that is why we are coming together to organize the people's camp. In fact, to draw the shadow parliament, the shadow cabinet, to draw, a government in waiting, and to advance steadfastly to our struggle. So the people and organizations that are engaged in these discussions of the post-Ruto era are actually men and women, daughters and sons of this country that met in the streets during the street protest. And what we are doing is that, other than getting our dead bodies, the dead bodies of our fellows from the mortuaries, or organizing burials for them, or even engaging in street protest, one of the primary duties is to also make sure that whenever the power falls in the streets, it does not go to the most reactionary class that continue to sell the Kenyan people. So this is work in progress. This is not complete. In fact, we are inviting every person that was on the streets. We are inviting every organization that was on the streets. And that is the reason why we are calling the National Provisional a central committee for the People's Assembly. Provisional in the sense that it is still, under construction, and we have an open door policy, and the only qualification is that, are you a Kenyan patriot? Do you love Kenya to the extent that you are willing to put all your energies to rescue Kenya from this billionaires class? Then, if that is the case, then you belong to the coalition. And we invite you to come and have discussions around leadership of this country, that we can at once agree that there can be a competent, people-driven government that is willing to put even its best people in the streets to be able to defend the gains that we have actually got, since independence. And that's what we are saying, is that this provisional committee, this provisional national committee, we need to expand it. The people's assemblies have happened and will continue to happen on Monday. We will have the 47 people's assemblies, and we are going to discuss clear issues on why we must ensure that the corruption in government does not continue. Why we have to make sure that no child, poor, no poor child living in informalized areas, are killed extrajudicially with a rogue police. We want to say that we do not have time to wait, so that this political class continues to steal money to be able to think that they can bribe the Kenyan people in the next electoral process. So this is what we have to continue to advance. Kasmuel.
Thank you, thank you. So, just for anyone who's listening and thinking that this is an organization that is a boys' club, or can be likened to that billionaires club the superficial billionaires club you're hearing about in government, no. What we are doing is, we've said it. We are absolutely tired of going to the streets and having our comrades killed for nothing. We're absolutely tired of going to the streets as individuals or individual organizations and having our members arrested for nothing, and then having other parties clamor for change. So that's why we've come together and formed this provisional committee. So if you're an individual or you're a part of an organization, part of now what we are also encouraging is for us to work as a team. Because we've seen that anytime we keep on driving this whole disorganized agenda, the people laugh at us, and the people who are most reactionary and more organized people, which the politicians are, they come and they harvest the gains. They do a capture harvest of the gains. So we're encouraging any organization that would want to know more about this thing, to just any citizen of goodwill who would want to know more about this, just contact either of us, either Comrade Muthiora or Sefu or Buka, and they will give you more information. I would love to go to Comrade Wanjira, who was one of our speakers for tonight. Comrade Wanjira, thank you so much for the work that you are doing for the movement. Thank you for the work that you have been doing for the past decade, because you have been in the space of activism and agitation for social justice for the past decade. I would love to welcome you formally to this space, to ask you to speak to us and give us your insights as we proceed, and then we will maybe have the demands read, and why we're hosting this space, especially for tonight, because I'll take it back to Comrade Muthiora to give us a bit of guidance. But before then, I'd like Comrade Wanjira to speak to us, give us her opening remarks, and then we will be on our way. Thanks. Comrade Wanjira, can you hear? Can you hear me?
No,
Am
I
I
think
audible?
she's away from her mic. Probably give it to
Okay.
another comrade. Yeah.
Okay, sawa sawa. For now, I will also allow Comrade Mudiora kindly, just so that we set the tone for this conversation, because we said tonight is why Ruto must go. There are Kenyans who still believe that when we say that, we're being delusional. So I would kindly request you to read us the main reasons, the 13 reasons. Just read us the main reasons. We'll share the breakdowns later. Just read us the main reasons in both English and Swahili, because I've seen, if you have the Tunakata document, Sababu Kumi na Tatu, and the 13 reasons, just don't read the breakdown, just read the reasons why. Let's present the reasons to the public so that they understand why, what we can do, and why, how we can refine those reasons. Then now we will invite, now we are going to open the microphones for a lot of, for everybody to speak. Remember, when you get the microphone, you have 2 minutes. I will unmute and maybe just give you a signal so that you keep injecting. But when you come up here, just inject. Do your best to ensure that everyone is angry, because I believe when you're on this space, you're on this space because this country is not working for you. So when you get the mic, let us say rayote. Please do not spare us. And if you feel like there's a thing that's happening wrong in the movement, please let us know. But before we start and officially open the mic to the public, kindly, Comrade Muthiora, could you please read for us the 13 reasons why we say Ruto must go?
Thank you very much, Kasmuel and Buka. We started by confirming that the presidency has lost the legitimacy to govern this country, and the following, I'll start by saying them in English so Professor Fred Ogola can take it from there. And number one is extrajudicial killings and mass murder of Kenyans. Number two, it's the debt crisis that Kenya is facing. Number three, unemployment crisis. Number four, violation of the constitution. Number five, subversion of state institutions. Number six, disregard for the people's voice. Number seven, this government is a puppet of foreign powers. Number eight, corruption and looting. Number nine, destruction of democracy. Number 10, auctioning of national assets. Number 11, destroying healthcare and education. Number 12, tribalism and cronism. And number 13, selling our land and natural resources. So, Professor Ogola, just before you take it away, whoever gets to speak, you do not have to speak to all the 13 reasons. And like we said, there are way more reasons as to why this government and presidency has lost the legitimacy to govern this country. So just pick your best pet subject and run with it. Professor Ogola, if you're hearing me, unmute your mic and carry on.
Professor, please inject and do not spare us, because we know what you have suffered under this government. So please take it away, and anyone who gets this microphone, tafadhali, give us the truth as it is. We would really, really appreciate a true analysis and depiction of this country to understand what your perspective is. Because if enough of us are angry, just the people on this space are enough to bring the change that we require in this country. Prof. Is Professor Gola speaking?
No, I can't hear him.
All right. We will skip Prof, and we will have Sefu. Sefu Sani. Good evening. All right. Because they are not speaking, I will go to our requests team. I see Comrade Farah Omar Abdi. Comrade Farah.
Yeah, no,
Yes, Farah.
yeah, he's okay. His mic is on.
Oh, very good. Comrade Farah, please go ahead and speak. You have 2 minutes, good sir. Guys, if you get the mic,
Okay.
please let us speak so that we are not wasting any time. Because I see there are lots of people who are willing to speak. So once you get the microphone, kindly announce an agenda for the people.
Actually, Kasmuel, the appeal we made for people to request for the mic was positively received, and we have lots of requests. But as we carry on with this conversation, I would just like to take us from number 1 to number 3 very briefly. And under extrajudicial killings and mass murder of Kenyans, our analysis has condensed it into the following words: that under Ruto's regime, extrajudicial killings and mass murder have reached unprecedented levels. The blood of over 345 Kenyans, mostly youths, stains his hands. This government, which should protect its citizens, has become an instrument of terror, leading to the abduction, torture, and murder of innocent people. We cannot be led by a man who shows no remorse for the lives lost under his command. Justice for the fallen is non negotiable. We say that you cannot kill us and lead us. Ruto must go. Number 2, under the debt crisis, the Kenyatta Ruto regime, now followed by the Ruto Gachagua administration.
Modiora, as you proceed, just make sure that Cast looks
Yeah.
at the mic. People are complaining on the chat that they have been blocked from the mic. So even if they try to unmute, they cannot unmute themselves.
Sorry, we will sort that out.
Okay.
Okay, so I was tackling the debt crisis, and our condensed point on that is the Kenyatta Ruto regime, now followed by the Ruto Gachagua administration, has looted our future by borrowing in our name. Their reckless greed has shackled Kenya with an unbearable debt crisis, forcing us to spend over 70% of our revenue on debt servicing. We have become economic slaves to the IMF and World Bank, and we are asking, who will liberate us from this financial tyranny? Number 3, under the unemployment crisis, joblessness, as is evident, is skyrocketing as Ruto's policies destroy our economy. Factories, companies, and businesses are closing, shutting down, and our youth have no future. How much more suffering shall we have to endure? So, Prof, if your mic was sorted out, you could tackle the subject that you had prepared to come address us on today.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear, Prof.
Yeah, so thank you very much, team. First of all, the question as why Ruto must go can begin by asking the opposite. But why must he stay? Because according to me, he has proven that he is incapable of doing any other thing that his allegiance to the office of the president should do. For example, if you just ask yourself which oath Ruto took, has he kept the oath of office? At the same time, in governance, Ruto should rule this country. There's a manual for ruling Kenya. Kenya is not just a new invention that somebody can use the way he wants. Kenya is a country that has a manual. One, the Constitution of Kenya 2010, that he uses like a piece of paper. Secondly, we have laws of Kenya that is made in parliament. He doesn't apply them. Thirdly, he has with what he call policies made by the ministry. He doesn't use them. Ruto wakes up and makes announcements of anything. That's why even Morara is busy telling him, "You launch this." He launches everything. So the question as to why should Ruto stay in office is even going to explain why Ruto must go, because he's incapable, he does not know, and he's not interested to do anything like that. And fundamentally, our constitution begin by saying, we, the people of Kenya, we have the sovereign power. And Ruto has become the people of Kenya, while for us, we are actually foreigners in our own land. He has reversed the constitution that we have as is given now. So Ruto must go, and I have a few reasons here. The first reason is that Ruto is sick. According to me, he's mentally sick because the amount of lies Ruto is making and how he lies, there is no need of even trying to confirm that he's lying. You know, even if you're a husband, kuna uongo ukimwambia bibi cannot even quarrel. They'll just laugh and say you need to be admitted in hospital because there are some lies that are just showing that you are sick. The second one I have is that Ruto has become so rich in the 1 year and a few months now. I was looking at his net worth, what he has gathered. He might look to have gathered between the time he took office. He has gathered a minimum of 1.8 trillion shillings. And that is equivalent of net worth of Safaricom, KCB, Equity Bank, National Bank put together. I remember that KCB employs over 60,000 people. How can someone gather that amount of wealth with no employees? Gachagua has been seen to be now 35 billion net worth with zero employees. How can someone be worth more than Safaricom and has no offices? There is no network. If you move to any town, you see Safaricom everywhere. You see KCB, even agents, you see them. Do they have the same level establishments to make those kind of wealth they claim? So Ruto must go so that we can take his net worth and create another companies like equivalent to Safaricom, KCB, Equity Bank, National Bank to employ the unemployed young people. So in Ruto's stomach sits Equity Bank, Safaricom, National Bank, and Equity Bank. Can you imagine how that's possible? He has swallowed that money, and that money has swallowed from taxpayers' money. So for me, removing Ruto can mean creating employment for the young people. The third reason I have, all our problems start in State House. Then they are passed in Parliament, which is used as a washing machine to wash them. Ruto has proposed people, they pass through Parliament, dirty people, they're being cleaned by Parliament. Sitting there, pretty honestly, is his friend called Moses Wetangula. So Ruto has even taken over all the institutions from there. Our children, our children's children will never see a payslip because the way the economy is running, unemployment of young people is 60%. The economy is growing at around 4.2%, and youth unemployment is growing at 24%, meaning that it is not just that young people, 60% of them are unemployed. It means that 60% of young people never see a payslip. And I was sitting in Kisumu one day, then I saw a young man, I was telling Mudiora, this young man was 43 years old. And I'm saying young man because he has never been employed. He's sitting in a jobless Kenya and he's 43 years old. And I'm seeing that this man will die or at least reach retirement age without actually ever working, without a pay slip. So how do you retire when you reach 60 or 55 years and you have never worked? In Idonwo, we say, itiyo kapo kitiyo, which means you are retiring before you work. How can someone retire before ever working? So Ruto brings for us a serious existential danger to the young people. And the last point I have here, and this is a very legal point, and I'm sure any legal person in this room has to get this point clearly. Ruto has lost what is called effective control of government. When you lose effective control means unfit to rule, unfit to command. Why? Ruto cannot fulfill the aspirations that he gave to Kenyans, rights to education, right to health, right, the rights in the Bills of Rights. He is incapable of doing it, and this is an economic issue because Ruto has no economic policy that can ever take us out of there. The second reason why he has lost effective control is that he's incapable of passing any budget or finance bill which is compliant with the constitution of Kenya and laws of Kenya. And the other last reason why, when I finish, why Ruto has to go because he has lost effective control is that Ruto is the commander in chief of all the armed forces. And Ruto is not able to control the police, or at least he's the main enemy. That's why there's police brutality. There's a lot of killings, maiming, murdering, abductions, unlawful arrests, and harassment. If a commander in chief is not able to command, then he is not able to have effective control. And effective control, if you look at that term, has been used even to tell Joe Biden he cannot run for the US presidency because he seems to be showing signs of not being in control of the US. And it can be used even to topple a president or ask a president to step down. So, according to me, we have a commander in chief who cannot command, not fit to command, and therefore we can even tell the military that you have a commander in chief that cannot command anything, and therefore he should go home and let the person who can be able to address that issue come into force. And that person should not be any other person apart from the person who knows how to fix that matter. And I think that person should be somewhere in this group or at least in these collectives. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof, for that very insightful piece of information. Thank you for giving us very, very clear reasons why Ruto must go from your standpoint. Now, I'd love to welcome a young person from Kajiado who I met recently called Farah Omar Abdi. But before I welcome you, Mr. Farah, one of our speakers tonight was supposed to be Comrade Wanjiro, who has been doing such amazing work in advocacy, not just since this movement started, but she's spent nothing less than a decade pursuing social justice. Earlier, it's because her mic could not be unmuted. Comrade Wanjira, if you're in a position to speak, we'd love to have your opening statements, and we'd love to hear what it is that you think the state of our nation is. And if you have any insights for us, if you have any real life examples for us, if you have any reasons to make us angry tonight at this presidency, because remember, once we lose our fear, as you are popularly known to say, as a woman who I would attribute this phrase to, when we lose our fear, they lose their power. And I also attribute the hashtag Tribe Katiba to you because you have been a vehement defender of our constitution. Comrade Wanjira, kindly give us your remarks. Then we'll go to Farah, then we'll have Wakili Ndegwa, then we'll do KOT Sonko. In that order. Thank you.
Asante sana, my Comrade Kasmuel. Revolutionary greetings to every patriotic Kenyan citizen listening to us right now.
Before you go on, Comrade Wanjira, give us a song. Give us a song. Give us one of those victory songs that will make us sing.
Bado mapambano, mapambano, mapambano. Bado mapambano. I know my comrade Sani will also come in with a song. I love her beautiful voice. But just to say that tumetoka mbali kama Wakenya kwa struggle ya kupigania maisha bora, kupigania haki zetu za kibinadamu, kupigania nchi yetu. Now on 25th of June, we were able to see that we can actually come together to liberate this nation kutokana na waizi ambao wamekuwa wakiiba pesa zetu, wamekuwa wakiua vijana wetu, speaking for the grassroots communities in this country, you know, extrajudicial killings have been a norm, imekuwa normalized in informal settlements. Now we're having it as a national discourse. But for us from the informal settlements, we are saying that we've really had enough of police brutality. enough of police killings, enough of abductions, enough of intimidation, enough of harassment. We are in 2024, but our country people are living like we're in a state of emergency in the Moi era. Just 2 days ago here in Mathare, polisi wamekuja kuvuruga vijana at night, getting them wakiwa base, wanawatoa mbio, wanawanyoa nywele, wanawachapa na kiboko. This is after the recent demonstrations that we have been having, and especially at Nane, just trying to instill a state of fear and terror among the young people of this country. But the most audacious thing I saw was wamama wamekatakatwa, wakatupwa kware, tukaletewa stori za kishenzi za vampire, tukarudi tukaambiwa kwamba huyu vampire manage kutoroka cell. Guys, we cannot allow such nonsense to happen in this country. We have let so many things go, but this is insanity of the highest order. You cannot kill people's children, dump them in a quarry, and just move on like this is something normal. I think things that have been happening in this country is extremely out of normal. We are living in an actual dictatorship under this Ruto. We are not thinking about it. We can see the outright dictatorship from the masked policemen that come to the streets. Wana uniform, wanashika watu, abduct watu. Abductions have not stopped up until now. So one of the things I want us to remember as we continue kwa hii struggle ni kwamba there will be no reforms under this current administration. Those people who are saying we wait until 2027. We're still going to have abductions, we're still going to have corruption, we're still going to be killed, intimidated, arrested. It's still going to be such an ugly state. We have got to finish what we started, and we are on a noble cause of liberating our country from the hands of Majambazi in its actual sense. Bible inasema the thief comes only to kill, to steal, and to destroy. And that has been the administration of William Samoei Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua, stealing the taxes of the Kenyan people, absolutely everything. Like, tukiona video za Morara, tunashangaa yani kwamba wanaiba kila kitu ambayo Wakenya tunatoa. Sisi, tukinyang'anywa healthcare, madaktari wanagoma. In fact, 2 of my friends are dealing with very serious cases of parents who are sick, parents who have very high hospital bills because the healthcare system in this country has failed time and time again. We are saying we cannot keep complaining, Kenyan people. We cannot keep saying, oh, healthcare haifanyi kazi, oh, madaktari wamegoma, oh, polisi wanatudhulumu sana, wametuzoea. We have to come to an understanding that only we Kenyan people can change this country of ours. Only we can bring changes to ensure that we are actually having social justice. Only we, with this our hands, with this our legs, with this our minds, with our patriotism, with our understanding that Meg Whiteman cannot rule over this country. William Samoei Ruto has decided to be subordinate to this white woman whose only interest are her country's interests, to exploit and make our country a client state, to bring very punitive laws and bills that do not represent the interests of the Kenyan people. So we are saying that we cannot keep complaining. My friend Gasheke likes to say lamentations. Kitabu ya lamentation. Kama Wakenya tuna lamento kila leo. Lazima tuelewe kwamba Ruto must go is the uprooting of an entire system that has been a stumbling block to us realizing what a beautiful reality we could live as Kenyan people. If anything we have learned is that we do have a lot of resources as a people, enough to ensure that each and every one of our children is able to attend university, free from the kindergarten level to the tertiary level bila story yoyote. We are able to deal with the issue of poverty, with landlessness even, implement those reports like the TJRC report that have never been implemented. So it is to say that we have the capability, we have the ability, we just need to come together as a people and really stand up for our nation, for our dignity, for our sovereignty, for social justice, to achieve this different reality. Nahisi kwamba tumefika mwisho wa dharau, wa dhulma, wa kuibiwa, wa corruption, wa vitisho, wa mauaji, wa abductions, wa unlawful arrests. We must birth a new republic, and we can only do it when we come together like this, when we speak to each other about the things that matter to us, and we decide to act upon those actions, because discussing is not enough. But I'm very confident that we are capable, we are able, and we are going to achieve this mission of Ruto must go, because Ruto must go. Ruto must go, comrades. Ruto ni lazima aende. We cannot continue having a madman in office. I'd like to return the mic to you, Kasmuel.
Thank you very much, Comrade Wanjira. I would love to ask you a question. Is it possible for anyone to just join any social justice centers? Is it a complicated process? Because a lot of people have been asking. You guys keep on talking about social justice centers. You keep on talking about people's assemblies. But where can we find them? What are the first steps we can do to use to join these organizations? Before you answer, I want to thank you so much for your eloquence. I want to thank you so much for always and consistently speaking for the right and for always advancing the needs of the people, not only in your community, but in every other disenfranchised community that you've come across.
Aha, asante sana Kasmuel. The social justice centers are actually open. They are community centers. They are a space for community. Like here in Madari Social Justice Center, every Saturday at 2 p.m. we have community meetings. Members of the Madari community are welcomed to attend that meeting and raise any issues, any community issues that need our urgent attention. Recently, the community issues we've been dealing with are the issues of evictions. You're aware that the outgoing president, in his madness, came and demolished our houses as a response to flood mitigation, and our people have been sleeping outside. It's still very cold, we're still landless. So that has been an agenda that we've been discussing extensively. The other agenda has been the agenda on extrajudicial killings and police harassment and brutality, which has intensified since Maandamano. And I'm learning that not just now in Madare, but also in Kayole as well. And as we seek to liberate the nation, the country at the national level, we also need to figure out how ianze hapa home. Kuna beshte yangu alikuwa ananiambia Ruto must go, ni lazima kwanza ianze kwa keja. Ule Ruto anakuwa press as an individual, Ruto must go. So sisi kama community tunaopresiwa sana na makarao, and that is our genesis of Ruto must go. We have to sweep everything clean. But then also we have the understanding that no actual reforms can work in this neoliberal system kwa sababu Ruto ni representative wa imperialist. So haezi hata make decision peke yake kama Ruto. Lazima ageuke ulize, Meg Whiteman unaonaje hii story? Tuna approve ama tunakataa? Sisi hatutaki mtu kawa hiyo akuwe representative wetu. We want absolute sovereignty as the people of Kenya because we are a sovereign state. Hatutambui au kina Meg Whiteman na imperialists. We want to be able to run our country in a way that benefits the majority of the Kenyan people and advances our interests and brings social justice to the Kenyan people. So you are free to join social justice centers across the country. Each justice center has a specific meeting day for community. I'd suggest you start there and then eventually you'll join a campaign which you're passionate about. For example, here, I'm passionate about environmental activism and I'm running the ecological justice campaign where we have youth groups coming together to discuss how we can green Madare, plant trees, plant memorial trees, and also just have a space where we can discuss things like the constitution and what's going on in the country. So yes, watu wamekaribishwa kujoin justice centers na kuelewa wa 13 reasons why Ruto must go na our charter ya kwa nini tunakataa uongozi mbaya wa Ruto, kwa nini ni lazima to birth new republic ya social justice, kwa nini ni lazima tukue na new ways of doing politics. It must not be business as usual.
Thank you very much. At the top of the hour, at 9 p.m., we will have a poetic piece by one very insightful gentleman who's been doing such a great job in terms of civic education, who is my brother from Nakuru, Mr. Willie Oeba, who has given the governor of Nakuru sleepless nights. He continues to ensure that she cannot loot in peace, and I encourage all Kenyans to ensure that your leaders do not do that. Do not do that in peace. But as we continue, I'd like to give 2 minutes. Thank you very much, Comrade Wanjira. I'd like to give 2 minutes to Akili Ndegwanjiru. Your advocate Ndegwanjiru, your 2 minutes start now.
Thank you, comrades. Endorsing
each and every ground that has been listed. And the grounds are many than what we have. But all I can say is that Ruto must go because he does not deserve to be a president of this country. He does not deserve to lead a citizenry like this of ours. He does not deserve to lead this country. He does not deserve to represent us in the Committee of Nations. One reason that Ruto must go is that he has exhibited incompetence of the highest order. He has exhibited blatant violation of the Constitution. He must go because he has never ever sworn to defend this Constitution. I doubt whether he actually knows and understands the content of this Constitution. That is why Ruto must go. And we are saying he must not go in 2027. He must go now. Any day that Ruto continues to hold the office that he proposed to be holding amounts or it's tantamount to an insult to our intellect. It's an insult to our patriotism. It's an insult to our ability to be Kenyan. It's embarrassing that we are associated with him. It's embarrassing that he purports to represent us. And we are saying we must keep this fire burning because the moment we put off the candle, the moment we put off the fire, Ruto thinks that he has won. We are saying that whatever he has done in this country as being exposed is mutilating the future, our future, and even the future of our children in what we call intra and extra um, e- um, is basically mutilating our future. We must keep on asking ourselves, if our generation does not take up the mantle to make Ruto go, what will happen to my child? What will happen to my son? Who will gonna speak for him? So in my view, if I am told to walk tomorrow, I walk. If I am told to run tomorrow, I'm going to run. If I'm told to shout from the rooftop, I am going to shout until the deaf hear that Ruto has no space in this country. I am one of the biggest proponents of the doctrine of constitutionalism. But we cannot advocate for constitutionalism when you have a president who has never read this constitution. Remember, in 2010, Ruto led the No campaign. He has a lot of contempt for this constitution, and that is why he never supported it. So we must rise up and claim our rightful place in God's kingdom. We must continue to speak loudly for anybody to hear that Ruto is a puppet for the West. And we cannot afford to sell our sovereignty to Mr. William Ruto. We cannot afford to watch him sell our sovereignty. So I have so many reasons that makes me believe that time for him to go is ripe and that we must march and march for those people who cannot speak, speak for the voiceless, shout for those who cannot speak. We must walk for those who cannot walk. We must tell Ruto that we shall not watch as he ruin our future. So yes, I endorse the 13 thematic areas that makes us believe that William Ruto must go. But most importantly, is the one of the sovereignty that is a puppet for the West. We must tell him that we have noble men and noble women in this country who are capable of leading.
Thank you very much, Wakili. Asante sana for your passion and for that injection. Just before we have Mr. Willie Oeba, who's doing such a great job at 9 at the top of the hour, I would love to welcome Mr. Kimanzi, Bonam Kenya Daima. Please give us a piece of your mind and remember that Willie Oeba comes up at exactly 9 p.m. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. And the reason why Mr. Ruto, not even Mr., I think I don't even need to use any term to address Mr. Ruto. Ruto is a looter. Ruto is a killer, and we are witnessing it with our bodies. We are paying it. We are paying the ultimate price as Kenyans. And the reason why I'm here to talk to you as young Kenyans. Any opportunity that you can get, any space that you get in, kindly do the service to humanity by making sure you inject some civic education. I'm in every space, I'm in every place that is advocating for civic education. Kasmuel, you're doing a good job. Willie Weber, you're doing a good job. And everyone else that I'm not mentioning, they go and see the work you're doing, and it's amazing. What I'm telling everyone is now let's do the action. Right now it's time to act. So that day when we'll say Ruto must go as a we'll say Ruto must go, we'll say Ruto must go as a nation. As we are speaking, there are things that we are working on with Kasmuel, the petitions that we are working on. That is one front. Kasmuel is working among other things. Other things that I'm working on is the translation of the odious debt. Currently, I have 63 translators. We've done, the Luo is done. Kiluya is done. The translation of Kiluya is done. The Kiembu translation is done, and the Meru translation as well is done. We are packaging on that to make sure that it will be available. I got 63 guys that who volunteered to work with me. I volunteered my company to do the animations and the visuals. And what I'm telling the rest of the youths is right now it's time for action. You meet 10 people in kwa barabara, tell them what is happening. Tell them why Ruto must go. Let's not just say Ruto must go online. When we get to such spaces, especially huku kwa mtaa, kwa streets, be it in the village, sit down, talk to our parents, and talk to them nicely so that they can understand why we are saying Ruto must go. I talked. Oh, it's almost time. So lastly, I'll say, guys, let's keep up with the movement of Ruto must go. And again, if you're out there and you also like to support my translators, the guys that volunteer to do the translation, come to my DM. You be in the US, you be in Europe, you be in Kenya, and you want to support them, kindly come to my DM and we continue the good work. Kasmuel, thanks for the opportunity. Will you ever jump in?
Thank you very much, Wakili, for not Wakili, Kenya, for what you're doing. Every Kenyan who's listening, this has come to the time. And I met Kimanzi because we've been working on a petition together, and he's been very gracious, and he's held spaces to push for the representation of the youth in the IBC selection panel and the IBC panel, and that's what people saw last week that was misconstrued. We were just following up that petition at Millie Odhiambo's office because now she sits in the House Business Committee. And for us to win these things, we need to follow it up with the people who sit in these very specific committees in the House, so that now we know exactly if these things are working, this is why they're working. If they're not working, who we need to follow it up with. Thank you very much for the good work you're doing, for volunteering your company. I know it has not been an easy year for you business-wise, but you're doing your best to ensure that we liberate our country, and may history remind you kindly. Bona Willie Oeba, the man enters the man of the hour, enters the mystery, enters the legend. Please take it away, sir.
Wow. What an introduction. Thank you so much, my bro. Thank you for the amazing work that you're doing. My name is Willie Oeba. I am a spoken word artist. Kasmuel, thank you so much for hosting the space and for the injection opportunities that you get. You represent too well. Thank you so much, everyone. Yesterday, I was called for a TV interview, and I realized the mainstream media, the legacy media is compromised. Right now, when you go for an interview, if you mention the name Ruto, if it is a live link, they are given 8 seconds, and then they will delay. The media has latency for the live link, so they delay after 8 seconds. If you mention anything negative, so the CAK guys have pitched camp in the mainstream media, and now you cannot mention anything against this government. It's so bad. So I do pieces on social justice. I started doing pieces on social justice in 2017 after I was nearly shot in Nakuru. So in Nakuru, there is a gang called Confirm, whereby I was a case of mistaken identity. And from that moment, they say when a gun is put on your head, if they don't kill you yet, then you live as a man who has nothing to lose. So I started doing pieces on social justice. And when the protests started, I was in New York for a fellowship, and I had to be in Kenya. So I came, and we organized in Nakuru, And I was pretty much surprised because Nakuru in the past years, Nakuru has been always calm and very complacent to the regime of the day. But now it is very vibrant. And as we say, Ruto must go. His branch is in Nakuru. We're also saying Kihika must go, and down with all the governors that are corrupt, down with corruption, and up with accountability. So tomorrow we are releasing a piece. It's called "I'm Offended." I'm Offended 2. Smalls Lethal featuring Nonini and I. And the purpose for this is documenting the struggle. Let it not be forgotten. Let our comrades not be forgotten. So it will be dropping tomorrow at 8 p.m. And the idea is to revolutionize the mindset and to spark the mind that will change the world. So here goes the piece. Justice system imeamua kureverse roles. Sasa wanaita judge my lord, alafu God is my witness. Na justice inaenda na bei ya kuongea na mwananchi ni bubu. Hao viongozi wetu ni maluza aluminium, si baada ya kukopa wana steal. This goes out to a government that doesn't care after elections. We are now treated as others. Out to a nation that talks big, lakini kifika kwa implementation it stammers. Experience is the best teacher, hatuwezi learn. Our education system imeprogram kuwa crammers. Jesus na the 12 disciples walikuwa fishers of men, lakini vile tuna insist on kupanda mbegu tadhani walikuwa crammers. Out to moms wamekataa ku take care of their kids, watoto wanapata inspiration kwa hip hop za Eminem. Ona sasa, martial mothers. Hii nchi ni crime scene. Vijana wana kazi, na viongozi tuliandika kazi wanatuambia tusome tujiandike. So dear Mr. President, the same students who promised paid internship 2017 ndio the same graduates who offer wheelbarrow empowerment 2024. Zima hiyo kitu. If we took a shot for every public lie we make, we'll be having a drunk nation. Your speeches are great, but I wish you spoke in fluent action. So sad people tasked to deliver the nation wako busy campaign for the next election. If the kids ask, nita explain aje former DP na mse wa bodaboda wa boat hustlers. Kama ni kulead, afadhali wana Israeli wanapelekwa kushoto na Moses, huku tuko na Kuria. Chicken seller amekuwa big fish. Kwa ofisi zenyu something is always cooking, but si mwananchi na dish. It's high time kufunguliwe koti za maskini na tajiri juu kwa hii relationship wananchi ndio wabish. Justice is never served, juni ndio wapish. Na kwa ballot conversations zetu haziko candid. Kweli, sisi voters ndio mangombe, nao politician ndio mabandit. Justice system inajaribu kureverse roles. Sasa wanaita judge my lord, alafu God is my witness. Na Gladys anakuja kutuambia vile judiciary imefail. Same place she was boss. Surely, hapa, the accused that a witness death a witness before a witness against them. After corruption case double tragedy, some of the commission of inquiry in employment opportunity for their corrupt families' useless bodies. Now the chief government pathologist is a pathological liar. If grabbing land is not enough, Yala River na Kware ndio kuna true water bodies. Other than finding ways za kututax, hakuna kenye mnafanya kwa hizo maofisi. Hata the elephant in the room haina task. Na in the executive iko na the lion's share. Ruto must go, because during his reign, the youth were one bullet away from being a hashtag. Talk is cheap. Fortunately, citizens cannot buy that trash. Wako $1 away from the poverty line. IBC ndo iko na price tag. Our moms wako one demolition away from kulala njaa to kulala nje. Makanga always one police stop away from kulose another finje. The middle class wako one disease away from poverty, and every level of governance is a step away from humility. There's nothing to smile about when I know I am one stray bullet away from being a statistic. Na degree ni makaratasi tu. Now to put food on my mama's table, I have to be sarcastic. Nasema Kenya, life ni short, na siongelei kinyasa. Na akaunti ya mwananchi ni empty kama promises za mwanasiasa. The president is talented in the art ya contempt of court. The law is very clear. His conscience is not. Ruto must go.
Ruto must go. Aye. Thank you, Comrade Oeba, for always injecting. Mmesema saizi tunaita judge, my lord, na tunaita God, my witness. And if you see the things that are going on in this country, that's the thing, the subversion of justice that's happening. That's such a moving piece, and we pray that whatever it is that you're doing, ijipe. We can't wait for your launch tomorrow. Once you set it up, please share it, send it to us. We'll amplify it on our pages because this message needs to reach every Kenyan. And people of Nakuru, we also stand in solidarity with you for exposing the corruption in your governor's office. So thank you so much, Willie Oeba, also for using your art to change society for good. Unless you have any closing remarks, we'll now give the mic to another speaker.
Thank you so much, my brother. None whatsoever. So nenda kuinject right now. Last round of injection. Tuko Jogoro leo. Na message ni hiyo, Zakayo lazima ashuke. Na kila mahali wanakubali. If you want to know, like, Ruto is very, very, very illegitimate. Everywhere you go, kwa matatu, hata wewe ukipanda matatu kesho, tusema Zakayo lazima afanye nini, watasema ashuke. Mungu anasaidia. Tuendelee kuinject.
Viva,
Oeba,
comrade, viva.
Viva. Oeba, kabla uondoke, Kasmuel, let me just ask, kuna hii condensed pamphlet ambayo tunapatia raia, ina sababu 13 kwa nini William Ruto lazima ang'atuke. Actually niliambiwa number 5 itakushock. Sijui kama umeisoma, na hii pamphlet itasaidia aje kwa hii civic education engagement ambayo tunafanya. Nikusomee tu hiyo number 5. Inasema kwamba Ruto has captured and subverted every state and social institution, parliament, the judiciary, counties, even the churches. Swali kubwa hapa ni, for how long are we going to allow for our institutions to be corrupted? Oeba, hii pamphlet uko nayo, unatembea nayo?
Sijapata opportunity ya kupata hiyo pamphlet. Nikipata itasaidia sana, because we work, we inject with a group of 4 poets. So tunashika stage, like matatu ziko na different stages. Kama leo tumekuwa double M na stage ya Embasava. So tukipata itakuwa poa, because tutacirculate pia, we will photocopy na tupea wase. Itakuwa amazing sana. And it's true, even in one of my pieces I say, kwa nchi hakuna mtu akoshua na hii katiba, ndio maana lawyers wana practice. Kwa nchi hata Chief Justice ana cry for justice. Such a shame. We need to print them and we need to distribute them, so that tukiinject hata na poetry na nini, tunawaacha na something that watapeleka kwa manyumba zao. Yes, so we can link up Muthiora, I get them, and then I'll photocopy with my team zenye tutapata na tutakuwa tukisambaza pia.
Carry on, Kasmuel.
For this half, I'd love to introduce Comrade Sefu Sani, who is one of the best songstresses that I know, and she is a revolutionary artist, just like Willie Oeba. Because, there are 2 kinds of artists. There are artists who advance the status quo, and there are artists who are revolutionary artists, people who use their art to advance the cause of the people. And we consistently say that if you're going to be an artist, a doctor, an engineer, an architect, a lawyer, a plumber, you ask yourself, are you going to do these things, employ your skills for the benefit of the people or for the benefit of a rich class? But there are very many people like Willie Oeba and his team who've decided that they will use their art to promote the ideas and the agenda of the people. Comrade Sefu Sani and Muthiora, I would like you to take the second half of the program, and in co-hosting and distributing the microphone so that it's done in a free and fair way, because there are requests that I might miss out on seeing. So just in introducing Comrade Sefu Sani, please bless us with your voice. Give us a little bit of a song, introduce yourselves, and then please carry on with this work. Remember, for every speaker, I know we have very many requests on the speakers panel. I would love for as many Kenyans to speak on this space, because we do not take it for granted for them joining us. So just try and give the mic to as many people.
Thank you so much,
Maintain the
Kasmuel.
discipline amongst the members and have the as many join in. Remember, the time cap is 2 minutes, and those start now. Comrade Sefu Sani, karibu sana.
Thank you, Kaz, for taking us through the first part. I don't know if you can hear me.
Loud and clear, my comrade.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for taking us through the first part of this session, and even for hosting, and for also my other coach, Mudiora Kariara. And of course, this is hosted by the National Coordinator of the People's Assembly, where we are bringing the voices from the ground up on the issues that are affecting our country, issues of economic exploitation, issues of social oppression, and speaking out so that we can have a better Kenya. Because from the 18th of June, when our young people went out to the streets with other Kenyans as well, and organizations, we were speaking truth to power on why we were rejecting this finance bill that was going to really oppress the Kenyan people. But we were not just rejecting the finance bill. There was so much more that went into people coming out on the streets. We recently had floods in this country where a lot of people had died and their homes were demolished and they had no place to go. We did not see a favorable response from our government. We have seen many other social and economic issues in this country. When we speak about the issues of the fertilizers that were not, good enough, that were coming from Russia, we were able to see this scandal, and even much later, some of them that got lost while they were being shipped in Kenya. When we're speaking about education, ladies and gentlemen, we have seen fees rising. We have seen help and education that only goes for the rich people, not. We have seen hospitals that have no drugs, and our people have had to suffer when we have to go to public hospitals. We have seen the killings and extrajudicial murders of our people, comrades. And these are some of the reasons why we are saying going on the streets is not just about the finance bill, but we want an overhaul of the whole system. And that is why today we are asking, what are these reasons that we are giving for Ruto to go? Because it is not just haphazard. It is not random. It is not anarchy. We have reasons and we can put them out. And also, as Comrade Mudiora Carriera had already read, we have pamphlets. One is on the 13 reasons why Ruto must go. We have a charter which says tunakata. So tukienda katika tunakata waji wa vijana, tunakata abductions, tunakata bad leadership, tunakata. Na pia nita-inject na wimbo ambao unaitwa leo. Tunasema leo ni leo, kuna mambo leo ni leo, mapambano vijana, tuale, kuna mambo vijana, tusimame, mapambano wa Kenya, tusilale, kuna mambo wa Kenya, tusimame, mapambano. Tutasimama kwa hii mapambano, sisi kama Wakenya, sisi kama vijana, sisi kama wasomi, tusimame katika mapambano na tuendelee kupigana. So it is for these reasons, comrade, today I'll invite our next speakers who will give us the reasons why are we saying Ruto must go. I see KOT Sonko, who was already up.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sefu, for giving me this chance. Hope you can hear me clearly.
Can you remember 2 minutes?
Okay, sorry, Sefu, can you hear me clearly because I'm speaking?
I can hear you very
fine.
Clearly.
And guys, okay. So guys, I really take this moment to thank you for giving me this chance on this space. And of course, I just heard we have so many social justice artists on this space, and of course, I really want to appreciate Nonini and Willie Oeba for the good job you are doing. So guys, tomorrow Nonini and Willie Oeba will be launching their social justice song, and of course it will be hosted on Sauti ya Mwananchi, where I host the space alongside Ayo and Wanyama. Ayo is the director of the song, and so We welcome you guys tomorrow at 8 p.m. And of course, Nonini is on this space. I would really love to hear from him there after some times to come. So if Nonini, you wish to say a word to our guys here who are really anticipating for that piece tomorrow at 8 p.m., then feel free. But now, why Ruto must go? Personally, I feel Ruto must go because this guy is a liar. Number one, he has been lying on us as the youth that he is going to create job opportunities for us, but he has never done that. Yeah, the only job opportunities that he has created for us is going to in the Arabic countries to be the housewives. I mean the house boys and house girls, as itamboch. Yeah. So I feel he has been a liar, and of course he lied to our parents. Sometimes back he said he's going to ensure that the cooking gas. Yeah. So the parents who are here I want you to reason with me. He said he is going to ensure that the cooking gas goes from as low as 300 shillings. Today, as we speak, a 6 kg cylinder for cooking gas, it goes at around 1,400 just to refill. You've not included that cylinder. So that guy is a liar. Look at his cabinet and the members of his cabinet and the PSs. They are all corrupt, yeah? That even most of them have corruption cases on their names. Look at his deputy president. During the previous regime, when Ruto was the deputy president of this country, his regime and Uhuru Kenyatta's regime, they had to freeze Gachagua's account of over 200 million because they believed that money, it was the taxpayers' money. And immediately they took over Gachagua and Ruto. Yeah, the money which had been frozen because it was believed to be taxpayers' money, it was given back to Gachagua. So Ruto and Gachagua, they are very corrupt leaders. Yeah, and any other person who is in his cabinet and the PS, they are very corrupt. Then this is a person as a president who has failed to pass 2 finance bills in 2 years consecutively. Yeah, meaning the citizen of this country, back in 2023, the 2023 finance bill was ruled unconstitutional by the High Court of Kenya. And I thank God the Chief Justice, Dr. William Mutunga, is on this space. And in 2024, the finance bill was rejected by the people of this nation, meaning we had no confidence in this person. So if today we are going to have a vote of no confidence, then automatically William Ruto and his regime, they'll go home. Why Ruto must go? It's because the parliament, as we speak, it is dissolved. Because on 25th June 2024, when true patriotics and citizens of this country stood up and rejected the finance bill, they marched into the parliament, and after marching into the parliament, they walked away with the mess. By walking away with the mess of the national parliament, it means the national parliament has been dissolved. Yeah. So,
Thank
Seth,
you,
just a minute.
QT.
Just a minute, Seth. I finish my submission. Just a minute. I beg for having only 1 minute.
I'll
So
give you 1
the
minute.
parliament is already dissolved. Okay. Thank you. So the parliament is already dissolved by the able citizens of this country. Yeah. And of course, Ruto must go because his leadership is so oppressive. Look at what is happening around the new university funding model. He never consulted any person. He made a decision on his own by not including the students, parents, and even student leaders. And that's why students across this nation from the higher learning institutions are going on the streets come next month to demand that the new funding model, which is so oppressive, is rejected in totality. And of course, they are saying fees must fall. So guys, tomorrow I welcome you at 8 p.m. where I'll be having Nonini and any other social justice artist who wish to join us. You can always join on my space so that Nonini will be releasing that song with Willie Oeba. Thank you so much, Sefu.
Thank you. Thank you so much, KOT Sonko. Also, when we speak about the role of art, what is the role of art in this struggle? Because our music should be able to mirror what is happening in our society and to give and to speak about the ills, to call them out, and also to be able to give civic education. So thank you very much for that. Of course, even as we do other forms of art, such as theater, such as music, such as murals, we saw a very powerful mural of Comrade Shakira. And it is something that reminds us of our fight and the fight that we are fighting for a sovereign nation, as is in Article 1 of our Constitution. So now I would like to invite Mwalimu Mutemi Kiama from Kongamano la Mapinduzi. Mwalimu Karibu, give us the reasons why Ruto must go now. And kindly just take 2 minutes so that we are able to admit other comments. Mwalimu.
Thank you, Comrade Sani. Thank you, Comrade Mubiora. Thank you, Comrade Kasmuel, and every other comrade on this space. All I can say in 2 minutes is that the 13 reasons that have been captured articulate why Ruto must go. But more than that, the power belongs to the people and the people of Kenya. And you have someone who, I heard Professor talking about rolling, that Ruto has been trying to rule Kenya. We moved away from the era of rulers. We are supposed to be having leaders. If someone thinks that they can rule people in the 21st century, Kenya is not a monarchy. So Ruto must go if he thinks he wants to become the emperor of Kenya. The other thing I want to talk about is we keep talking about civic education. We moved away from, we've been having civic education for the last 30 years, 3 decades. We are in the era of political education, not civic education. This is the ability to connect dots. Why the price of this and that is this way, why the cost of education is high, why Parliament is failing Kenyans and is not representing us, why we must reject finance bill. That is political education. It's connecting the dots. It's connecting how the decisions that are made by MPs and other elected leaders affect us. And that is what we need to focus on, not civic education, but political education. And Ruto must go because is totally disconnected from what is happening to Kenyans. He's too focused on his own, self-aggrandizement, creating wealth, creating his own dynasty at the expense of every other Kenyan. It's very clear from economists that we have enough resources in every budget. The last 3-4 budgets, we've raised enough resources to fund not only Kenya, but the East African region. Yet we keep increasing our budget and we keep borrowing so that we can loot. This cannot go on, and it should not go on. But I want to throw a spanner in the works and say, rather than Ruto goes, or the way Ruto goes, is that Parliament must go. The most powerful institution in our Constitution is the National Assembly, together with the Senate. They've been given power to oversight the judiciary and to oversight also the executive and other independent institutions. But they've refused to do their work. They've been bought by, we've had reports of 10,000 shillings in the toilets, 100,000 shillings to sell the soul of Kenyans. So I want us to research something called pillars of support. When you talk about Ruto, Ruto is not where he is alone. He is there, as we saw when Gen Z pushed into the wall. There are those people who reached out, and they are called pillars of support. There are many pillars of support. There's the church, there's the media, as you've articulated that the media is compromised. There's parliament, there's judiciary, there's academia, there's the people. But the weakest pillar for us as a people is parliament. And we must fix parliament. We must bring down parliament to bring down Ruto. So Ruto must go and parliament must go. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mwalimu Mutemi Kiama, even as you speak about political education. And yeah, this is truly the era of political education, and we have seen an uprising because of the political consciousness and connecting our socioeconomic factors to what is happening politically, and for us to also ask for integrity. Just before I call on the next speaker, I will just read again the 13 reasons why Ruto must go. And this is a document from the National Coordination Committee of the Assemblies. And these are all the different people that have been on the streets that want a just Kenya, that we want to amplify the voices from the ground up and have a sovereign country. And of course, all of us who are here are welcome to come and join this Coordination Committee of the People's Assembly for us to do better for our country together, because umoja ni nguvu. Na utengano ni udhaifu. The first one is 13 reasons why Ruto must go now. Extrajudicial killings and mass of Kenyans. 2 is the debt crisis. Number 3 is the unemployment crisis. Number 4 is violation of the Constitution. Number 5 is subversion of state institutions. Number 6 is the disregard for the people's voice. Number 7 is a puppet of foreign powers. Number 8 is corruption and looting. Number 9 is destruction of democracy. And number 10 is auctioning national assets. Number 11 is destroying healthcare and education. Number 12 is tribalism and cronyism. Number 13 is selling our land and natural resources. So these are the 13 reasons why we are saying Ruto must go now, because we want an alternative for our country and we want better leadership. I will now call on Kimani Nyoike. I'm just Nyoike to speak. Kimani.
Communist power. Ruto must go, and he must go now, because Ruto lies, and he lies without flinching, and he lies every day, and he lies all the time, and we know that is his nature. I know that you are gathered here to continue the discussion and also to speak plainly about the state of the nation today, because as we know it all, and all of us here we know it, that we are at crossroads. Because of the deepening crisis that we've seen that the corrupt have come together to unite. And it's also begging the question, if the corrupt have coming together to join to continue their corruption, then what are we, the citizens, doing? And I'm happy that this space is being held tonight, because it's still part of the citizens' action, and it's also part of shaping the future today. The ordinary Kenyan struggles will not go away just because the billionaires have come together. It's only going to get worse, because we all know that they're not coming together to solve the nation's crisis, but they're coming together to solve their own crisis against the nation. And so we know that we've seen all the human rights violations. We still have a lot of people missing, and this is very sad to be experiencing today in a country where the president, the illegitimate president, is saying that he wants to rule using the rule of law. I'm sorry, Mutemi, for using the rule. I know, because at the end of the day, what we yearn for is the rule of law and not the rule of the jungle, and not the rule of one person, and not the rule of one party, and not the rule of the corrupt, definitely. And so I'm here to give a message of solidarity from Nakuru, also a message of solidarity from Eldoret, from the people that we've been speaking to silently, and also the people we've been injecting to, getting to know why this struggle is all important for them to be part of. So in this context, us in Nakuru will be having the Iwazi Festival that happens on Monday and Tuesday. And the essence of the festival is geared towards injecting more towards a push for transparency and accountability. We're setting this as a platform that is going also to be confronting these challenges head on. We know we have friendly people in government who know what's going on and really, really want change for this country. And so we are also seeking to engage them and getting to know how is it possible that we can reap from the people who are inside to help us make sure that this system falls, because essentially we have to make sure that it falls. So in essence, we're going to be using art, we're going to be using technology, and we are going to be using a lot of conversations to be able to speak to the nation's soul. How are we able to make sure that when all this is said and done, we are ending up with a country that we can all be proud of? And I believe that is very much possible within our lifetime. It's very much possible now rather than tomorrow. And I know out there we have Kenyans who feel as though they are crestfallen, as though they are feeling like giving up. What I want to tell them tonight is that we're here in solidarity. We are together. What they are thinking is what we are thinking. So as long as we are together in thought, we can always be together in deed. And so I'd like to leave it at that. That's what we're planning right here down in the Rift. But we're also in solidarity with the people who are going to be on the streets next week. We believe that the streets is where the power will be won back to the people, and the streets is where we shall be. So eventually, at the end of the day, it's not either or if, but it's a must that Ruto must fall. He must fall because he's shown it time and again, and the recent most time that he's shown it and shown us the middle finger was today. We can see where he's going with this regime of his. So the sooner it gets out of our faces, the better. We need our country back, and we need to build a much, much better future for us and also for our children and the people who are going to be coming after us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Sefu, just before you pass the mic, if you will allow me, I would like to go back to reason number 4 why Ruto must go, and that is violation of the Constitution. In 23 very short months, William Ruto has violated our Constitution over 36 times. We have a petition at the High Court, that's petition number E356 of 2024, that has put together evidence which will show all these instances when William Ruto has violated our Constitution. So as we proceed with this conversation, the question is, shall we allow someone that has violated our Constitution that many times continue to govern us? You think about that even as we take our next speaker. Carry on, Sefu.
Thank you, Muthiora Kariara, for that. And even before I call on our next speaker, who is Professor Ogola, and he will be clarifying a few things. He's an economist. I would just like to remind us that we are on the street on the 27th. Yes?
Sefu, kindly, can I go next? Because my network is not...
Okay, let me just finish. We are on the street on the 27th of August, where, yes,
The best, and I might
we are on the street
disconnect
on the
at
27th
any
of
moment.
August. Kindly join us on the streets as we will be calling for better governance for our country, and for Ruto must go now with these reasons. Also, comrades, tomorrow from 8 p.m. we will also be having another X space where we will be discussing our Katiba and why Ruto must go and why we should be going to the streets on the 27th and why we should consolidate our power. So kindly remember those dates and remember to keep it locked, even as I call on Professor Ogola. Kindly take 2 minutes, Prof. Then we'll have our next speaker.
Thank you very much, Sefu. Mine is not a speech, but it's more of a clarification. KOT Sonko talked about the fact that Ruto has created jobs in UAE for house help. I just want to correct that is not what he has done. Kenyans have always gone abroad, and Kenyans don't need Ruto to go abroad. And I think that is a misnomer to believe that Ruto created opportunities for them to go work abroad. Some of us studied abroad. Ruto never helped us. In fact, it's completely a joke that he says he gave Kenyans brought a job, Kenyans jobs abroad. Then the other thing I wanted to correct there was when he says that Gachagua had stolen only 200 million. It was 7.5 billion shillings on record that was returned to him after that. So the figures are even higher than that. So I'm sure that we need to make these things clear because the magnitude of our problems are higher than that. The third thing I want to bring across is that the government, Ruto also has to go because of misplaced priorities. Look, Kenya shillings, 14.2 billion shillings will be used for printing new currency just to put the signature of some kind of people in treasury, the next year's treasury. We are going to spend 14.2 billion shillings. Yet Mbadi says he has no money to employ the JCC teachers, which should cost 13.4 billion shillings. So the misplaced priorities in this government is amazing, is one of the reasons why we are suffering. And our main problem is economic. So my question is, we should take one issue out of the very many issues and take one that all Kenyans will agree easily and buy in easily and create anger around it. And for me, that problem now is corruption. Even if, when you say corruption, everybody in Kenya is annoyed, including those in government, including those in church and the rest. Can we pick an issue that is very emotive, very emotional, and dig in it properly and whip the emotions until the rage is on the roof? And that will make Kenyans know. Like the finance bill was one rage that was very clear. Just said finance bill. So I guess that should be something like that that will take us forward. But what I'm trying to say is that people who are saying we should give Ruto time should tell us what they are benefiting so that Ruto can stay in office. And I should say we should decide that either you are an oppressor or you are the oppressed. All of us here are oppressed. Any other person saying anything positive about Ruto must be an oppressor because you cannot tell me you are on the fence. I think for me, that's what I wanted to clarify and just encourage comrades that our war is not lost and we need to move to the how because that question is being asked a lot at the moment. We have to start whipping people that we need to educate people. I don't like too much political education, but these are terminologies. We just decided to call it People's Assembly to respect the views of people who are equal. We know there's political education taking place, but we'll call it more political education. We call it more People's Assembly to allow all the voices coming on forward and allow people coming in the platform equally. But I believe we should start talking about the issue of taking the vote because that's what we are being criticized. We created this guy without because we didn't vote, and also we have no voters card, we have no IDs. We should start talking about even some songs saying our weapon still remain, ultimate weapon remains our voters card, our ID cards because.
Prof, thank you for those remarks that you've given. And just to clarify that political education is all the work that we are doing, even in the consciousness, the people's assemblies, putting together the issues that are the political issues and the socioeconomic factors and the integrity of our leaders. And of course, it brings about, it brings all people to the table with a political consciousness, because we need that consciousness for us to be able to consolidate our power as the people, the people's power. Thank you very much, Prof, for
Comrade
that.
Seifu, sorry to interrupt, but I would love to just help us guide the conversation, because I don't want it to. We should not necessarily drag the space too long. Let's give rounds to the speakers who are still on the panel, who have not yet spoken. We could start with Farah, who's been waiting for a while, and then, because we are almost heading out of time, and just organize a disciplined environment around which the space is happening. Thank you, my comrade.
Thank you very much.
Can you hear me?
Omar, kindly, you have 2 minutes.
Yeah, Sefu, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, thank you. Niko kwa ngamia, so network is not the best. So I wanted to raise your awareness on what is happening. Like, I want you to mentally step out of the country and look at it from the outside. We have a failing immigration system, to the extent whereby we have Burundians and Congolese and Tanzanians as barbers, hawkers, taking away jobs that the less educated people should be occupying. We are exporting our best and the most educated fellows. We were sending them away. We have a failing education system, meaning we are creating a generation of fools. We have a failing healthcare system, meaning unless you have comprehensive health covers, you're one sickness away from poverty. It's not sio kwa bahati, it's by design, because what is next is they're trying to take control of production of food, because once they have production of the food and the education and people are not as educated as the lucky generation we currently have, thanks to Kibaki and Uhuru, then they can do whatever they want, because even now we have our identities have an expiry date, so hakutakuwa na tofauti baina yako na yule mkimbizi. That is something you need to be very, very aware of. That is why our IDs are not being produced na mnalazimishwa the ones that have an expiry date. The other thing, this birth is one of eternal vigilance. It doesn't matter whether, yes, this government must go. That's not a negotiable, because you don't negotiate with somebody who wants to lead you at gunpoint. How can we live under a government that had snipers on the roof? There's a guy who was knocking on his mother's door, nifungulie, nifungulie, and he was shot. If he wasn't given enough time to get even into his house, what time does this government need? Honestly, make me understand, because it's not right. Majama, there's some things that are not transactionary, and your motherland should never be one of them, because this is all you have. People have died, and I want all the political people here to be aware that you might have the oranges in the wheelbarrow, but the blood in the soil will never let those oranges bloom. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Comrade Farah Omar Abdi. 13 reasons why Ruto must go. The first one is extrajudicial killings and mass murder of Kenyans. But we also have those of us who have been abducted. Recently, we have seen the abduction of Bob, of Aslam, of Jamil, who, of course, we are calling for them to be produced to us because we do not support and we greatly and highly condemn these abductions and
Sefu,
arrests.
my sister, before I forget, there's a petition filed by Kenya and Shakira asking
Yes.
for positions for the youth in the IEBC both the selection panel and the final commissioners, and a place for the people with disabilities. Kindly, let us not rest our fate in the political class. Tukimbizane na hii kitu, let's ensure we have youthful representation and people we can trust, people we vet and back. Thank you.
Thank you. And this is why it is important, even as we're doing this, for us to now maybe move away from this leaderless movement. Because if you want to take away the political class, then it means that we need to have organization. Because now, after Ruto must go, what happens? The people who are the most organized to take power and to lead this country. So that it is important for us to consolidate this. I have tried to bring in proud communists. I don't know why I'm not seeing you on the list of speakers, but I will call Fees Must Fall. S.C. Karris, kindly take 2 minutes. We don't have much time. I think at 10 p.m. we should be closing. So be as brief as possible for us to have a lot of people, a lot of speakers say something and then closing remarks.
Thank you very much. I just want to highlight what's going on in the education sector. That's my number one reason for why Ruto must go. He has attacked our education system from literally from the day that a child is born in Kenya today to the point where they get to university. There's an attack on every single level. Number one, Linda Mama, we all know, was dropped. So when a child is born, the protections that were there for the mother and the newborn baby are gone today, which means our child mortality rate is going to be high. So if a child survives and gets into primary school, the school feeding program, 4.9 billion, was also dropped. And that happened this year. In the 5th month of the year, the Kenyan Treasury scrapped the 4.9 billion allocation for the school feeding program. That's in primary school. In high school, we know what's happening to the JSS teachers. Again, in high school, the Edu Afia, which was a comprehensive health cover for high school students, that was also scrapped. There is nothing that this administration is not attacking when it comes to education. And then we know what's going on with the university fee hikes. And now today we've heard that the University of Nairobi student leader has been abducted. Every single level of our education system is under attack. And this is why Ruto must go, and we must take this issue very, very seriously, because if he succeeds in dumbing down our populace, he will have a populace that he can control, and he'll have a populace that he can dictate to. So let us fight for the restoration of all these programs in our education system, because an educated populace will ensure that this man goes, and his remnants as well. Because I know he is planning for the future. He's planning for his sons and the friends and his relatives to take over power in another 50, 100 years. Let us also plan for another 50, 100 years of our education of the strengthening of our education sector, because that will ensure that his plans fail. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for speaking to reason number 11 why Ruto must go, which is destroying healthcare and education. Ruto's overtaxation has crippled our healthcare and education systems, driving us into poverty. The cost of living is unbearable. How much more can we take? Ayo, the 6th, kindly take the mic. You have 1 minute so that we can allow others to speak, and then we have our closing remarks and prepare for tomorrow's X space as well. Ayo.
All right, thank you so much, Sefu. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ayo the 6th. I have only one reason why this human being needs to exit office. And one of the major reasons why I think Ruto has to go is because of the extrajudicial killings. We've lost our brothers and sisters on the streets of Nairobi, across the country. in Mombasa, Kisumu, wherever, Eldoret, his hometown, we've seen people die in the name of police brutality. Yet nothing is being done to give justice to these, the families of these human beings. If you feel like you need to be in a position where we still need to give Ruto time, it's like you're insulting our intelligence and telling us, give him this man more time to keep on killing our brothers and sisters. I'm speaking in pain because I've been in the streets of Nairobi, even with Kasmuel, around Nation Center, whereby live bullets were being showered on Kenyan citizens because they are trying to fight for their rights. And then he comes back on the theme of national cohesion, appointments in government positions that have been undermined by the age-old problems of recycling appointees, patronage, nepotism, and ethnicity. He's appointing his people who will help him stay in power. We are a country of more than 42 tribes, and we need everybody represented in these national seats. So that is my only reason. Under my 1 minute, I feel this human being needs to get out of office, and we need to clinch those seats. And just a moment, Sefu. I'm asking all of you, if you're interested in a political seat and you're a young person, please come up. We will support you. We need to drain the system completely, and we need new people in the government to lead us.
Thank you so much, Ayo. And that speaks to our reason number one, where we say 13 reasons why Ruto must go. And number one is extrajudicial killings and the mass murder of Kenyans. The next three speakers I call, kindly take 1 minute so that we can also take our closing remarks from some of the speakers, and then we finish this space. I will call Agal decides to talk, kindly 1 minute, and then Omondi Ochuka, then Freedom Songs. Take 1 minute each, then we'll have closing remarks.
Amazing. Thank you, Sefu. So I just want to take us back into the corruption bit. And even as we think about how the government has really been getting into corruption, let's think about also how deep it cuts across we as Kenyans. And, corruption begins from the onset between each and every single community, from even the family level. And when you think about it, how many times have we actually been pioneers of this said corruption? Look at our traffic system. We still allow matatus to carry more than the passengers required. We're not speaking out at that. We need good transport systems, good vehicles, reliable means of transport. But then again, when you think about it, like, we are still pioneers of not really championing growth from the smallest level, which is like where exactly we come from. So I just want us to look deeply also into that. And, sometimes looking within also helps you know exactly what you're fighting for. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That is so profound, and speaks on chapter 6 of integrity, where even we should have integrity to kill out the corruption that is going on in our country. Reason number 8 speaks about corruption and looting, corruption in all the sectors that we have. Freedom Songs, 1 minute. Omondi Ochuka, 1 minute.
Thank you, Sefu. I have two things that I would like to comment on. Number one, over the years, if you look at the history of our country, there has been a very deep resentment for people who are free. And one thing that has changed over the years, if you look at between 1990, especially the peak coming with Reject the Finance Bill 2024, was people becoming more powerful, people becoming more driven by their consciousness to change things. I think there were just a few people who were brave enough to say, we are going to change the system, we are going to do this and that. But there was a lot of fear because the system is rooted deeply in brutality. So that has changed. And what we need to do as we look at the political class right now is their own organization into a small community of elitism, a small community of privilege, a small community of entitlement. And they believe that they can actually do away with every other person, every other voice that is resenting all this pilferage, all this corruption. So if we are able to organize ourselves as a community that are awakened, and we are able to spread that education across the country, then we have a possible chance at creating a blooming nation of conscious people, a blooming nation of people who have integrity. And this goes all to the second point. We are understanding that our biggest power as a people is in terms of how we organize ourselves, the wisdom of the crowd. We have seen people from lawyers, we have seen people from auditors, we have seen people who have very different gifts that they can put on the table, and these gifts can actually be organized in terms of what do we need to replace the political class that is very rotten to the core, because we have to have that conversation at some point. And
Omondi, thank you so much for your remarks. I'll have to cut you short because of time. I think one of our speakers has fallen out. We'll have Mungadi speak.
Comrade Sefu.
And then,
Comrade Sefu, kindly, because I think I would want to just buy a few seconds or a minute for Omondi so that he can land that point in terms of organization, because it speaks to the question of what next. I'm willing to request speakers to shave a minute off of the closing remarks so that he can land, because he was cut midpoint and not towards the end.
all right, comrade, you may proceed. Then we will have Mungadi and then the closing remarks. Comrade Omondi?
Ochuka? Okay, I can't hear him. So
it seems like we've lost Comrade Ochuka. So, Comrade Mungadi, if you can speak for 1 minute on why.
I'll speak to one. Number one, as a Ugandan and a neighbor with you people from Kenya, we have lived under a dictatorship for 40 years and you gave us hope. Now, the extrajudicial killing that I'm seeing in Kenya is typical of what is happening in Uganda. And for me, I'm saying Ruto must go because we cannot have another surrogate of Museveni in the neighborhood. You gave us hope. Actually, you are the reason why Ugandans rose up. But when this thing looked as if it collapsed on you, we are so worried because it's now the guy is going to screw us more. So Ruto must go. We cannot have those extrajudicial killings exported from Uganda to Kenya. I'll just sum it like that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mungadi, and also for your solidarity from all the way from Uganda. I am seeing that we really don't have much time, although I had seen Nonini Mgenge True. Kindly, Comrade Nonini, take 1 minute. I know you're launching a song tomorrow on social justice as we close down.
Yeah, hi everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, just right.
Loud and clear.
Okay. I just wanted to commend you guys for the space. This is a good thing you guys always do consistently. Speaking from outside here in the diaspora, tukuja kwa spaces kama hizi, this is how we get conversations and communication of what's happening on ground. Because most of the time we rely on news, we rely on the citizens, the KTNs, and sometimes, they curate information, what they want to serve us. So spaces like this are really, really good. I can add maybe one of my reasons. I think the creative sector and people with talents and entrepreneurs in Kenya really looked, young entrepreneurs really looked down upon, especially if you're a musician or any kind of arts. There's been a categorical sabotage that has been done in the creative sector. And you can see even with the recent appointments, like Yani, we're jumping from a frying pan into the fire. Like nothing will ever change in the creative sector. Vijana yani, watu wanaimba, saa yote yani, ukiangalia tu our sector is just in shambles from royalties to everything. So that's my reason. I want to invite you guys tomorrow. Just join our space. We have a surprise for everyone. We're just going to be in solidarity with the whole movement. As a musician, I feel it's important to have social justice. I've always done that in my music. Sometimes you have music that is for happy times, for good times, but sometimes you have music that is connecting with the people. It's about what's happening on ground. So currently what I feel is happening on ground is to stand in solidarity with the young guys who are trying to change Kenya. Thank you so much, and I appreciate you guys for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Nonini Mgenge True. I request through to KOT Sonko and to Willie Oeba. Tomorrow we had also scheduled our next space, which is going to happen from 8 p.m. And it is just a follow-up on this. And also we will be really focusing on the Constitution. And I think so that we consolidate our efforts, it would be good. I don't know if you'd agree for us to join efforts so you can do the launch of the social justice song on the space, and then we can merge it with the conversations that we have having, so that we have a much larger audience in this work and consolidate all our efforts. You can reach out for that, and we can agree on how to do it to get all our. I would like to apologize. We could speak, of course, but we thank you very much for joining in. Rastan, CJ, Culture, Kenyan Media, Brian Bai, The Real Joe, Baraka, Frederick Karanja, Wisto Rajic, Ogalo, Western, Hitler, Muguna, Nothing, Steve, Wangu, Amakeri, Jackson, Miriki, D. Tyro, Okeja Brian, Global Walking, Macero, Okumu, one whose name I can't read in Russian, Tweeting Sheikh, Michael Okumu, Timothy Mukaria, Clinton Kenda, Pinu Chudari, David Otunga, Jackson Charo, Salim Omhwai, Daniel Okesh. Not mentioned. Within your request, and unfortunately, we could not approve all of them for you to speak because our time is limited. But we're requesting for you to join us tomorrow. We will give more time for us to be able to speak. Same time from 8 p.m. The space will be hosted by Okiya Omtatah. And we hope that you join us there on Why Ruto Must Go, on the total shutdown on Katiba Day, the action that we are going to be undertaking on the 27th, 27th of August, which is Katiba Day. And now I'll just also invite my hosts and co-hosts to say something as we wind down.
Thank you very much, Seifu, for holding it down for us. Thank you, dear comrades, for being part of this conversation. Just before I hand it over to Kasmuel so we can wrap it up, I would like to explain a little bit about the National Provisional Coordination Committee of the People's Assemblies, that is NPCCPA. This coalition of organizations is one that was birthed in the streets as we carried the message, Ruto must go. There comes a time when we are called upon to be more than we've ever imagined we can be. Those that came out to defeat the Finance Bill 2024 heeded that call, and indeed they proved that we can surpass our wildest expectations. This battle is not won yet, which is why the following organizations have been organizing. Like just last week, we had people's assemblies happening in Kayole under the Kayole Social Justice. We had the Kibra Social Justice coming together. We have other organizations such as the Githurai, Kasarani, Madare, Mukuru, Dagoretti, Dandora, Kitengela, Kisumu social justice centers that are part of this coalition. We have Kenya Bora Tuitakayo. We have Concerned Citizens Movement. We have Operation Linda Jamii. We have Kisumu Peace and Accountability Center. And we even have a number of political parties, among them the Communist Party of Kenya, we have UGM, we have Ukweli Party, we have National Reconstruction Alliance, NRA, the one that sponsored Okiya Omtatah to the Senate, just to name but a few of the organizations that are people-centric that have come together to make sure that the job is done. So we appeal to all patriotic Kenyans to keep supporting the movement. We are just experiencing a lull before the perfect storm that must happen so we can birth the third liberation. Ruto must go is not a mantra. Ruto must go is a reality that we must make happen. We have 3 years to the next general election. And as someone that has participated in a general election, I know it can be daunting, it can be challenging. But the fact that I was there, like many of you have, I know that if you step up, if you rise to the challenge, we can give Kenya the alternative that has missed for so long. So, Kasmuel, I'll hand this over to you so you can remind Kenyans out there that we are doing this again tomorrow. It will be hosted by Senator Okiya Omtatah. We will have Kasmuel on the panel. We'll have Sani Sefu and a number of other panelists who will be looking into how we will not let Katiba Day just be any other day. Kasmuel, you can wrap this for us now.
Thank you very much, my comrade, and thank you very much for everybody who's joined. We intended to have the space for 2 hours. I'm very, very delighted to report that we've just exceeded the time by over 8 minutes. I'm very sorry to every Kenyan who hoped to speak on the space and did not get a chance. We deeply and terribly regret that, but we continue to say that in your own possible way, keep on injecting in whatever avenue you get. And even if you have spaces, please invite us to those spaces. We'll be willing to contribute and to amplify on those issues. We have a very, very hectic week coming up next week. We have Katiba Day coming up. We have the teachers strike. We have doctors striking. So, and also we remember we are pursuing our identity cards. It's going to be a very busy week, but let us keep the faith up. Do not lose the faith. Do not lose. Keep on saying the things. Keep on doing the things. Thank you very, very much for joining this space. That's it from me for tonight. Remember tomorrow, Nonini in conjunction with KOT Sonko and Ayo the Sixth and the whole crew are launching something with Akina Willie Oyeba as well. A song that is and a piece that's in relation to pursuit of social justice. We're having a space as well to see why Katiba Day is very important and why we need to treat it with the sanctity it deserves. I hope that the two groups can be in conjunction with each other so that we see how we can consolidate our efforts. And remember, we keep on reminding every patriotic Kenyan with an organization or without to join the People's Coalition so that we have an organized front, because we are organizing and organizing to take political power. Thank you very much to my co-hosts, to Comrade Mudori, to Comrade Seifu, and to Comrade Muthiora, and to Comrade Buka, and to all the speakers who've spoken tonight, to Professor Fred, to Comrade Wanjira, to all the patriotic Kenyans who've spent time out of their Saturday evening to listen to us. That will be it for this space. Thank you, and God bless you. Asante.
Kaz, kindly allow me to play a song as we are leaving for...
All right, Comrade Seifu. You're free to listen to the song as we leave. You're free to keep on going. Thank you, comrades. Comrade Seifu, we can't hear you. Comrade Seifu?